84 years old. My parents were, my late parents were Dr. Manfred Ralph Litten, a graduate of the Humboldt University in Berlin. And my late mother was Shoshana Jansie Litten from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I was born in a free city at the time in 1936, in a free city named Danzig. The city is known today as Gdansk on the shore of the Baltic Sea in Poland. We lived there at Danzig for several years, as my father, but both of my parents were Zionists, and my father, who was a doctor of here is it. You can wait with the slides already, okay? I'll tell you when to start. And my parents were situated in Danzig. My father was a teacher at the Jewish high school there, and we lived there for several years in peace, up to the time when the German party, as most of the people there, most of the inhabitants in Danzig were German, although it was a free city. Most of them are German, and they lined up with the Nazi party as well as Germany itself. And in 1933, where there were elections in Danzig, the Nazi party got the majority of the parliament, and so they ruled the country since then up to the end of the Second World War. At the beginning, the Jews lived there quite peacefully, but as in Germany, the restrictions grew rapidly, and in 1938, all the Jews were forced to leave Danzig to other countries, and if they did not leave, they were evacuated to the concentration camp at Stutthof, which is close to Danzig, Gdansk. So my parents, most of the Jewish people, the Jewish communities there, they left for the United States, either for the United States or to the land of Israel, Palestine, at the British mandate at that time. My parents wanted to, decided, as they were Zionists, they wanted also to leave for Palestine. But before that, they were offered a post to manage a youth farm for Jewish pioneers, youngsters, at the farm in the city of Gouda. Gouda is a city known well for the cheese, as you already well know. So they left for Holland, and it was very convenient for my mother because she was a origin of Holland, and they were managers of a agriculture youth farm in Gouda, where I also was the son of the managers. And all the youth, the youngsters, the students were about 10 to 11 years older than I am. And I was a kind of a toy to them. At the beginning, it was quite nice because it was before the conqueror of the Netherlands by the Nazi Germans. But in 1940, May 1940, as you well know, Holland was conquered by the Germans. And at the beginning, there were no atrocity against the Jews, but gradually the situation got harsher. Another thing was because now you can show, please show the first slide. This was me already in Holland. This was taken in 1939 when we were already in Holland. The second one, please. Also, yes. Now this is the house of the house called Catharina Hoeve in Gouda, where the students used to live. Next one, please. This is a bridge over a canal. You know, Holland has many water canals, and this is a bridge, an uphill bridge, which leads to the house, to the farm. Next one, please. This is actually the the fields that were with all the crops that were the agriculture field, which was worked by the students. On the right, you see a canal. This canal was used to send all the crops to the market each week. Next one, please. Those are the students on a kind of a vessel, on a boat, on which the crops were driven to the market. Okay, this is another picture of the students. I'm as a little boy on the upper left-hand side of the picture. Next one, please. This is during a coffee break. I'm with my mother, and shown here with some of the students. Next one, please. This again is on front of the canal on the second floor of the house. I'm here at 3 years old. Now wait for the next picture. Now, as I said, things were quite convenient at the beginning, but and also we were defined as a essential farm for the supply of vegetables to the population. So the Germans didn't put any restrictions at the beginning to us. But as we all were Jews, the restriction grew further up, and all of us had to bear the yellow star, first of all. Then all the IDs, the identity cards, were to be labeled with the big G, naming Yod, Jew, and and everyone had to be confirmed by the municipality as Jews. So gradually, as I said, the restriction got harsher. And my mother, who was had very good connections with the underground, started to get in plans how to eventually evacuate the farm and to find safe places for the students under false identity. What she did, together again with the underground people, they started to manufacture or to issue false identity card in hiding, of course, and to find hiding places with non-Jewish families all over the country. So when the orders came to be evacuated to a transfer camp in the eastern part of Holland, and from there, from that camp, which is known as Westerbork, a transfer camp, from that palm to the east to the either death camps or concentration camps. She did not wait for the orders to come through, and eventually she did two things. First of all, as I said, she issued the false identity cards to all of them, false names and false identity cards. And then she provided rationing cards, food rationing cards for all of them. And of course, she arranged hiding places. Now, when the orders came, all of the students went to the railway station, which leads to the transfer camp. But instead, some of them bought tickets to the transfer camp as actually already ordered by the Germans. But some of them already purchased the cards, they purchased the tickets, and they left for other places. Some of them got on the street, but left on the stations before reaching the camps. So all of the prearranged hiding places. My mother also took me to one of the hiding places. She was prearranged with a Catholic family, and you can see in the next picture This is a family I was hidden with. It's a large family, a large Catholic Christian family named the Ten Bergen. And you can see they had 6 children of their own. And you can see me with black hair, dark hair, and I'm much different from the others. The mother of the house, Mary, used to put a hat on my head so to not to stick out too much as somebody else. Of course, I was there with a false identity named Bommel, and the story was that I was from another city, from a relative of hers who was a nurse and couldn't attend and treat me at their house. So I was kept by them. Uh, Another thing is you can see the thing was actually you must see that I came from a kind of a liberal Jewish family, and I went over to this family which was under strict Catholic education for good and for bad. And this was not so easy for me, but at the beginning, I was only 7 years old at the time. It's 1943, you must see. And at the beginning, it was very harsh and very sad for me because my mother left me there. And she actually, apart from one close visit a few weeks later, she never came back. And from that time, I never saw her again. And it was very hard to get used to that family at the beginning. I used to silently weep at night, of course, and I had no one to turn to. But apparently, I got friendly with some of the kids there, and so I had actually no other choice. I had to get allianted with them. You see on the mother's lap, there's a little girl there. The girl name is Ellen. Now she is 78 years old. And the next picture, please. And she wrote a book which is called Een kind voor mijn deur in Dutch, which means a child in front of my door. And on the picture, you see myself on the age of 7, and Mary, who was the lady of the house. She was an ex-teacher, and she tended for all her children. Next picture, please. This is Ellen as she looks today. I meet her nearly every year. We meet either in Israel or at her house in the Netherlands. I intended to go there even this year and to see all of the family, but I couldn't manage that because of the corona course. Next one, please. We'll wait for this one. Wait a minute, we'll tell the story first. Now, I lived with the family quite peacefully. At the beginning in 1943, things were quite nice. And as I said, I was actually completely as one of the family, not a little much different. And because of the harsh education, I had to live with treats and punishment as everyone. And as the lady of the house, she was an ex-teacher, and this was very good for me because I couldn't go to school, of course, like the other kids did. And apart from to the church on Sunday, but as she was a teacher, she managed, even so she had 6 children, she managed, or with me it was 7, she managed to spare some time for me every day and to teach me the essentials. I mean, arithmetics, reading and writing, which was very essential for me because I couldn't go to school. And again, I had to accustom myself to all of their habits. As I said, it was quite harsh because she was a teacher, and with so many children and with so many deeds and wrong deeds from the kids. It was a system with her. She had a small chalkboard, which I remember vividly to this day. She had a small chalkboard on which she used to write every misdeed of the children during the day, and I was, of course, not spared from this. And with a number of lashes everyone has to get when the master of the house, the chef, came home. He was, by the way, a rich cloth marketeer, and when he came home from his work, he saw he looked at the blackboard, and each of the kids, including me, we got the number of lashes. He wrote it down. So this is a very much different education than than I got when I was a very spoiled kid with my parents until the age of 7 at the youth farm, with all the kids loving me as a toy. Eventually, the 1943 was quite a good year, but 1944 there was a deep hunger in the Netherlands, and we had scarcely nothing to eat. Lucky enough, my mother thought of everything beforehand, and after I was there, about 6 months after I was at the house of the family Ten Berge, she put at the house, she sent to the house another student of her who was 18 years old, and she used a lady, a girl named Lida, Eliada in Hebrew, and that girl used to be instead or in place of their maid, who used to be, who was fired because it was very dangerous to have her because of betrayal, possible betrayal, because of informing me to the authorities. Because, as you did know, every Dutch citizen was given a good sum of money if he managed to seek out Jews hiding at Catholic and Christian families. So she worked at the house, and also she did not look so much Jewish. She looked more like a Dutch girl. And what she did, she used from time to time, mainly at the hunger time, as we didn't have much to eat. She used to go on a bicycle with some clothing, with some clothes of her chef, and to exchange them for sugar and meal and eggs and essential of by the neighboring or by the surrounding farmers. So we had something to eat, at least for some being. Also, another thing to remember, the house was situated in front of a anti-aircraft field managed by German soldiers. And it happened to be that at the neighboring house to us, the commander of that anti-aircraft gun field lived there with a little girl of his. And funny enough, the little girl who was at my age came to play with us. She behaved like the girl of the conquerors, but in any case, she was a girl. And apparently, I knew some German back from Danzig, and I managed to speak with her easily, so we got friendly. I tried to seek her out after the war, but I couldn't find her because she probably changed her name. But this was the lady of the house who wrote down her memoirs in that book I showed you, and which was edited by this lady you see on the screen, the daughter, and she wrote down that it was very awkward to see all the children playing with a Jewish child, with a conqueror's Nazi girl, and with her children, and with Christians. So this was quite of unusual. But of course, she didn't know that I was Jewish, this girl. And so the time passed by, and when it went very dangerous, as we had very good connections with the underground, they knew in advance when there used to be actions for seeking Jews by the SS. And so whenever there was an action due, I was hidden in a cellar under the garage. This was actually in a very sealed down cellar, which was not under the house. It was a concealed cellar. And this was also used by the gentleman of the house, because later on, the Germans started to seek for able men to be sent to Germany to their munition and weapon factories, you know, forced labor. And whenever there was an action, the master of the house, you know, the chef, used to go inside the same concealed cellar, which no one knew about, which was not officially, because this was dug out later, not with the building itself. And in that house, they they were not only him, but some other able men who were hidden there during the action of the SS soldiers. In one of the instances, I do remember as well as today, we knew that there an action will be. Chef and his neighbors were hidden at the shelter, and we were eating lunch. You know, we were all sitting at the table eating lunch. Then they came in with their fixed bayonets on their rifles, on their guns, and started from top to bottom to look over the men. But they didn't manage, and it was really awkward that we were sitting there eating as nothing happened. And I think that we were much more mature than if I compare this with my own children or grandchildren, we were much mature and we knew that everything was going on. And so finally, after they tore around some covers and some sofas, they left the house. We had some bombings at the time from two, actually, and then we had to live at the house cellar. We had some bombings at the time of the war from two sources. The first source was very awkward. This was by the German V1 bombs. This was an unmanned flying bomb with 500 kilo warhead that they sent over to England. They wanted to send it over, but they weren't so accurate, and they had a very awkward noise of the engine. And what we knew was, when we were at the cellar, we knew that whenever the engine stops, the bomb comes down. And in one instance, we had a bomb nearby at the two blocks away. When we went out to see afterwards, the house was completely gone with all the people inside. Later on, we had the bombings, of course, by the Allied forces, because, as I said, we had in front of us an anti-aircraft gun field, and there was a nearby airport where they had the Luftwaffe, the German aircraft planes. So this was very difficult. That was a very difficult time. Finally, we were liberated by the Canadians in May 1945, and this was a really great day. Another thing is to mention, this family was unique in they never tried to make a Christian of me. They knew I was Jewish, and even provided me at some time, not me, but Lida and me, with a praying book chef found in some place. So we could read some in hiding, of course, we could read some Hebrew prayers. But they were this family, chef and Mary, were recognized as righteous among nations and were awarded the Righteous Among Nations Award at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, at the museum in Jerusalem in 1989. And that's, of course, we arranged results. Could you show another slide, please? This is our Stolpersteine. They are the memory bricks made by a German artist named Gunther Demnig. Gunther Demnig is the son of an SS officer, and he is an artist, decided to memorize many Jews as possible in all over Europe by little bricks. On each of them is a name of someone murdered by the Nazis. Now this one is in front where the youth farm used to be in Gouda, and I'm standing there when they commemorated this with the community and the local mayor. The 7 of them belong to 7 students of the farm who were killed during the Holocaust, and the first 2 ones on the upper left part are of my parents. My father was taken away from his hiding place in 1943 already, and my mother managed to work with the underground many years back in Amsterdam and in many other places, and she was only caught 6 days or 4 days before the landing of the Allied forces at Normandy, due to a betrayal by an informer who was within the underground, and was later he was caught and court-martialed and shot down. Next one, please. This is with my youngest son during the ceremony of the bricklaying of this, the bricklaying of the little bricks commemorating the victims. My parents, of course, and the others. Next one. This one is when they commemorated the place with a special plate showing the house of the farm. This is the mayor of the city of Gouda, the one with the necklace. Next one, please. This is a house. This is actually the plate, which commemorating plate with the story in Dutch in front of the place where that house stood. Okay, next one. This again is together the stones and the commemoration plate. Next one. This is me and my late wife standing in 2016 when we visited the place. This is me and my grandchildren and my oldest son holding a little grandchild. Okay, next one. This is me at 80th birthday, visiting the city of Gdansk, where I was born, which was a free city of Danzig at the time, in 1936. Me and my late wife. Next one, please. This is again the same visit we had at the Netherlands in 2016. We are standing in front of the house where I was hidden. Now, I told you that I was hidden with also with another Jewish girl who died at the age of 90 a few years ago. And apart from that, because the mother was used to have a child nearly every day, every few years, eventually she was pregnant again during the end of the World War II. So it was very difficult for Lida, the girl who was from the pupil from my, or the student of my parents, to tend for all of them, and also for the mother who had to lay down for her pregnancy. And so she asked for another friend of hers who was hidden at the same city to also be there, and who was actually a nurse in profession. So she lived also there. And apart from that, so we were three Jewish persons at the house, and they were so keen to do good to all people. At one instance, a German plane was shot down in 1944, and an airman, the aviator, or the German Austrian aviator, parachuted down and was looking for refuge. And he came to the house, and they let him in, and they hide him at the attic. We didn't know about that, but what we saw as kids, we saw at the top of this house was an attic, and we saw from time to time a cup on the window, a cup of tea or some, and we wondered what it was. Later we were told that that's a place where it was hidden, and when the Canadians liberated the city, we handed him over. So you must see that the greatness of that family. They kept three Jewish people and also a deserter. For all these actions, they could be shot on spot by the Nazis, of course. Okay, next one, please. This one is a commemoration for the underground people, Jews and non-Jews, of the Dutch underground. In the middle is Shoshana Litton, which is my mother, written over there. And we visited it from time to time. Here I am with three of my grandchildren. Okay. I think this is the last one. So I must say that on the whole, and at the final stage, I grew up in Israel, studied here at the school in Haifa, at the professional technical high school of the Technion, of the Institute of Technology. And later, also, I went to the army, and I am now already a double pensioner, or a double pensioner, both from the army and from my civilian, from a civilian corporation as I worked there as an engineer for electro-optics. So I think that it's very important for me to share with you that story. And as we say, we have to learn from that, from all the atrocities and so any other atrocities never repeat itself, as we say, never again.
Thank you very much, Gideon, for sharing us your story. It's definitely an incredible story. I do have myself a few other questions I would like to ask about these events, but before that, I think if anyone else would like to ask some other questions, please feel free to go ahead. Yeah, Asif.
Hello, Gideon. How are you doing? My name is Asif. I'm also a student at IE University. I'm actually the president of the LGBT club. Thank you so much for your story and for sharing with us today. It's very important. We also want to our fellows to hear about the stories and about the experiences that the Jews had more than 70 years ago. And I wanted to hear a little bit about your story, about your Aliyah story, about moving from Europe to Israel. I believe that you moved by yourself. So how exactly did you go about it? You were by yourself, so how did you accommodate it?
Okay. Now, I was all by myself, but lucky enough, at the same city, as I told you, also with me was another girl of the student of my parents, and my parents perished, you know. But at the same city was one of the main or the chief students of my parents, and he, after the war, he collected me, and they reestablished the youth farm at Gouda. So I was there at the beginning, a few days, for a short time, and then I went over to a Zionist boarding school for war orphans who were all intended to go to Israel by the Zionist organization. And we spent there for some time. And in April 1946, the whole orphanage, the whole school, we all went with on boat from Marseille, France. We went over to Israel. In Israel, I was met by some very good friends of my late parents who came to Israel before the war, and also I was there partly with them and part at the boarding school for some years. And afterwards, I also lived, when I studied at Haifa, I lived with some far families, good family friends of mine at Haifa. And so that's the way I came to Israel, and as everyone, you know.
Thank you so much.
I would like to ask you, Gideon, because you said before that you received from the family, you received I don't know if it was a Siddur or a Bible, to have some of the Jewish identity and Jewish culture, some of that you read or to try and practice. So my question is, beside that, did you and Lida practice anything? Did you do anything else to try and somehow maintain your Jewish identity, the Jewish tradition, the Jewish holidays?
Yes, Lida was her name, Lida Eliada. What she did, she had this prayer book, a Siddur. She had this prayer book, and she used to, because she was grown, as she was 11 years older than I am, and my father, who was quite traditional, he used to keep all the holidays at the farm. So from time to time, she, at her little room, we stayed together at her room, and she started to read from the prayer book, and to remind me of the main festivals like Pesach and Sukkot and the others. So I had some ideas of the Jewish religion, and I didn't know to read. Of course, she knew also to read Hebrew because my father taught also Hebrew to the students.
Incredible, thank
so
you.
I definitely knew that I was Jewish, and also I knew that my task, because I followed the studies of the pupils at the farm, and I knew that eventually I have to go to the land of Israel, to Palestine.
So I do have another question on that, but if anyone else have a question, please feel free to use the raise hand or just unmute. If not, then I will ask additional questions. Okay, so I'll go with additional ones. So how would you define your departure, saying goodbye to the family after they have hidden you the entire time? How was it saying just saying thank you, I guess, for everything? And
yes, well, you have to remember, I was only less than 10 years old, and I was 9.5 years old at the time when I left them, and left them at May. This was quite sudden, you know. This was quite sudden. I knew that I had to leave, and it was a little. There was a little sadness with that, because I had to depart mainly from the mother of the house, from Mary, and from the kids I was so good connected with. And I had very little words to tell them when I left. And it was quite a little bit shocking for me to leave so too abruptly, you know, to leave so too quick. And I know that for the mother of the house it was very difficult, because she rather would have known that I'll stay there. But because I was like one of the children of hers, you know, for some years. But later on, I started, when I studied in England later on, I started to visit them and I was in good connection with them up to this day. And I'm very thankful to them. And we started a habit for many years back, to each Christmas and for each Christmas and for each New Year, to send to them a box of citrus food, citrus food. And this was I do it to this day. And then I had a few visits to them since the war, first by myself, and then with my wife and my wife's family, and later, as you saw on the on one of the pictures there, with my grandchildren. So we are very thankful to them to this day.
Yes, of course, incredible. Okay, so I think if no one else has any other questions they wish to ask, I think maybe we can again thank you very much, Gideon.
Okay.
Sharing the story with us. Again, it's an incredible story. And of course, like we said, the importance of hearing that story and listening to these testimonies during this almost on the International Holocaust Day. So again, we appreciate it very much. And thank you. Thank you everyone for joining, for being here to listen to the story, to hearing it, to being part of sharing this and commemorating the memory.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gideon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.